Resistance is futile. Your life, as it has been, is over. From this time forward, you will service us.
No, we will not service Washington.
Mr. Worf, fire.
Well, good evening. This is the Renegade and Rambler show, and this is the Rambler doing the opening this evening. We're joined tonight with, obviously, the Renegade, Daniel Bailey. Good evening, Daniel.
Well, hello there, Jeff. We'll change of pace having you open it up.
It is a little bit different. And, oh, goodness, folks, you're in for a treat because we have our hippie brother from Arizona, the one with the Barrett and the pit bull. That's right. We have Sean Hoffine with us tonight. Good evening, Sean.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I very much appreciate on today what I consider to be 241 years removed from the most important day in American history. Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Well, welcome. So we're going to start off. We'll get back to that in a minute, Sean, because actually we have a lot of time. I don't know how much time you have with us tonight. You let us know when you need to bail.
I'll stay all night.
We've already decided we're going to do a 2-hour show tonight because we have so much to go over. We have you with us tonight, and trust me, we have stuff. We have stuff. But we're going to start off with a story we found that we've been discussing from Europe. It's not a far, it's over in Europe, but it's not a far stretch because with us going to single payer here, this is what's going to come here eventually. The European Court of Human Rights, which when you hear the story, human rights, give me a break, sentences a little British boy to death. For those of you unfamiliar with the details of an awful story unfolding in Great Britain, little Charlie Gard is a 10-month baby who suffers from a rare genetic condition. In spite of the fact that he also has brain damage, Charlie is extraordinarily fortunate to have something else as well, loving parents who refuse to give up on him. Instead, they fundraised nearly 1.4 million British pounds so they could take him to the United States to undergo a therapy trial. But that was before Charlie was sentenced to death by British doctors. So I'm not going to read the whole thing, but what they did is they said, no, you can't treat him. And then so they went to court, and the EU Court of Human Rights said, no, the doctor spoke, you can't take him over there and privately pay. They're not asking for public money, privately pay for the treatment. So this baby's going to die because the Court of Human Rights in a single payer says the doctors can do whatever they want. There's some really good logic there, folks. So, Daniel, you wanted to chime in on this one, so go ahead and start us out there. And then I'm sure as soon as Sean settles down, he'll want to chime in as well.
This is just completely ridiculous story. I tell you, the whole idea that a court gets to decide whether a child can live or die. This is on akin to Roe versus Wade. I don't care if the government's paying for it or not. You don't get to choose whether an innocent person lives or dies. If the parents want to pay for it, then the parents should be allowed to pay for it. According to this story, they're not even letting the parents take him home to die. He has to stay in the hospital, and he has to be under a doctor's care while he dies because it's, quote, for the dignity. He must die with dignity. Correct me if I'm wrong.
They're going to unplug him, basically. What they're going to do is they're going to unplug him, and they have to unplug him in the hospital. They're not going to allow him to go home and die. Because more than likely what the parents would do, as soon as he's home, they're going to make sure they have a flight and get him to America and get him the treatment.
Yeah, because once you land on American soil, the Americans will take care of you. Well, at least we say we do for now. Obviously, there are many in both the Republican and Democrat Party that want to make sure that ends and ends rather quickly because, oh, no, there's 20 million people uninsured. Oh, the poor bleeding hearts here. We're all going to die if we don't have health care. If the government doesn't pay for my health care, I just won't be able to survive. I'm going to die, Jeff. I'm going to die if the government don't take care of me. Anyway, this is family-friendly show, and the trucker's about to come out of me.
Go. Hey, Sean, chime in on this one.
Well, I'm going to fall back onto what they said back in 1780. I think it was 85 or 86. Oh, those Federalists, they love their courts. They love their courts. And that's where we've fallen back from being free citizens. We want to fall to the court for every dissolution of freedom. And the court cannot give you freedom.
Oh, yeah.
The court's supposed to be referees, not give you rights.
It's the same problem with the Democrats or with liberals in general, or totalitarians. If they can't get their will through the ballot box, they go to the legislature. If they can't get it through the legislature, they move it up the chain until they get it through. Or if they can't get it through the legislatures at all, and they can't get it through the people, they go to a court judge that happens to be sympathetic, and they make sure they find one that's sympathetic, and then they force it through, and everybody has to swallow it. And somehow we still call ourselves the land of the free and the home of the brave. Horse hockey.
Well, let me just read one more little paragraph of this. As I've written before, death with dignity is an insidious slogan that is being used to call and kill those society has decided are done living or no longer have lives worth living in the first place. Death with dignity in the minds of these medical professionals means that those they have decided are no longer worth fighting for must die faster. And honestly, we talked about this before here in relation to the whole abortion thing. And now we have states that are passing these. You, Sean, they have California and up, I think, in Washington. I think that's where Kevorkian was plying his craft of murdering people. They're doing it here now. It's just going to grow as the government becomes more involved in healthcare. And that was Marx understood that getting government involved in people's medical care was an important part of his plan.
Absolutely. And the problem with a lot of people, and I'm not nice about this. I've read, I think I'm up to 1,700 books now. Only one that I read defied death. I'm very careful with this. Only one man beats it. If you guys have a different theory on this, please chime in. Only one man beats death. Every person that has been born will suffer death. One man beat it, and I ain't him.
Well,
God, are we fighting that so hard?
I mean, we could talk about. I mean, these are great biblical. This is greatly biblical because that guy that conquered death actually brought someone. He brought back at least one that we know of in scriptures, Lazarus, from the dead. And if you go back into the Old Testament, you have Enoch, who walked with God and was no more. God actually took him from this earth, and he never suffered death. So, which is awesome, because, man, that's a great thing to strive towards. I would love to strive towards the point where God said, I was walking with him, and then, you know what? I'm just going to take him home. He's not going to die. That'd be awesome.
If I may, Jeff, Lazarus was not the only one that he brought back from the dead.
There was several others. Brought others that we really don't know much about. That's the only story that you really know a lot about.
Yeah, because it mentions them by name. But every funeral in the Bible that Christ ever went to, he completely ruined the funeral because he turned it into a celebration. He brought the person back from the dead. So obviously that's not the point of what Sean was saying, but yeah, only one man has beaten death on his own.
Well, he's the one that conquered death. I mean, without him, none of us are going to conquer death. I mean, he's the one. That's what Sean's getting at. I was just kind of expanding on it because we actually talked about Enoch in church today, which was kind of cool.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so anyway, two avoided death altogether. What was it? Enoch and I get Elijah and Elisha mixed up. I think it was Elijah.
Right. Elijah and it might have been Elijah. I think you might be right on that one. So anyway, we're getting off on a field out of a field here. Let's get back to
Sorry about that.
The subject. No, it's not your fault. That is my fault. The Rambler. That's why it's down there.
This is what happens when you have two hosts that have ADHD and we just like to hop around on rabbit trails.
So anyway, we just wanted to talk a little bit about this human rights court in Europe. I mean, that's out there. I mean, not even allow the parents who raise the funds privately to treat their child because they aren't going to give up on the life that God gave.
Jeff,
the doctors know better.
If I may, you know why the court can't let the family pay for the medical care? Go ahead.
Good. No, go ahead. I was just going to say I'm not sure where you're going, so I'll defer.
If the family could actually pay for this child's health care, then it proves that you really don't need the government to pay for your health care, and then they lose the control aspect. Because then people just start raising funds and paying for their healthcare themselves. So we have to get you in a box to where you believe that you can't afford your healthcare. Only the government can afford your healthcare. Then we have to keep you in that box, because if we don't keep you in that box, the whole box will shatter apart in a gazillion pieces. Because all it takes is one person, just one person standing up and saying, I can do this on my own, and the whole system starts unraveling. That's why you can't get rid of Social Security and Medicaid, or not Medicaid, but Medicare. Because if you ever get that where they can prove that a couple people can do it, then it starts growing and growing and growing, and the system collapses on itself. It's going to collapse on itself eventually anyway, but that would bring it about faster than what they want. They couldn't then use it as a control mechanism to keep you in their little box.
Go ahead, Sean. You were going to say something.
Oh, no, that is exactly the game they want to play. You've got to be in their control. So start up outside, you become a threat. And that threat is they do not want a threat to their system. That threat is independence and or personal responsibility. They do not want it. The Republicans want to talk about personal responsibility. But by God, when you start to actually do it, they get a little bit pissy when you do that.
Well, I was just on vacation. We were down in Baltimore at the Inner Harbor, and we got talking about healthcare. And there was all these people. We were on the water taxi, which was kind of a really fun way to do the Inner Harbor. Rather than drive around or walk around it, you pay for the day and you just ride from point to point on a boat. So you go from one point, you go out to Fort McHenry and go out there and worship the flag. And then you can get back on the boat and go across to museums about entertainment and look at Superman and stuff. It's really kind of a fun day, and the Canada Yards is right there. But we had a good time. I'm getting a field again. But going back to the medical thing, we were talking about the medical thing, and some people chimed in, and we got talking, and I said, well, you do realize you really don't need government to do this, because in Oklahoma, and I went and told them about the Surgical Center of Oklahoma that is doing it on a cash per person deal. So you go there, you consult with them, they work out a price, you pay them the money, and they do the surgery for cash. And they were like, you can't do that, can you? I said, sure you can. I got my phone out, popped it in, handed it right to him, and said, here you are. There's the Surgical Center of Oklahoma, and it's all cash. So we're breaking this mold one person at a time. These people were shocked that there was actually a way for them to do something without having to go through the insurance companies and paying the overpriced price for what they're doing.
No, and I actually, when I was in Texas, when I was in Marfa, the guy that put it together actually shows you how to negotiate privately with these sick bastards that actually sell us healthcare. You can get an 84% discount on the published rate. It's going to be up on, he's writing it this weekend. It'll be up on Zero Hedge. He's showed us. I mean, I've always known this. You can always negotiate for cash. You don't have to play their silly game. Except the federal government's got so deep in this right now, it's very difficult to get out of their game. I don't want to fill out their paperwork. I don't like the games. I want to be treated, not categorized, numeralized, treated like cattle. I just want to get my care. I don't want to talk about health insurance. I want to talk about health care, which most people don't even understand. It's about health care, and the bill that they are purporting to put on us is about health insurance, not health care. There's no health care in that bill. No,
it's all about control, and we really have gone kind of off a field here, but this is really good conversation, because what they've done is they've taken control of your records by requiring through all this that the doctors and hospitals to put everything on the computer. They now own all of your records. They know every medication you take, every time you see a doctor. They know what you're there to see the doctor for. They know everything about your medical life, because they now control all the information. So, well, now that they control the information, it's not a difficult step to control what services you get from your doctor.
Exactly. That's exactly the point. Medical care should be private, just like care with my lawyer. That's a private transaction, right? Do you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, if I talk to a lawyer, it is private. If I talk to a doctor, that is private. Why am I filling out 15 pages of stuff to get something done?
Well, I actually pitched a fit in my doctor's office because of the computerized system. I was like, listen, I don't want you to computerize it. She said, I don't have a choice. It's federal law. If I don't do it, they're going to put me in jail. So now I have no choice in the matter. They post their stuff in the computer, and the government has it. And I have no privacy now from the government. They know everything about me.
You are correct, sir. And that's why I opted out of Western medicine. Unless I get shot, I will not participate in Western medicine. I'm on Eastern medicine. I want to participate in chiropractic, the needles, what's it called? Whatever they put the needles in the cupping.
Acupuncture.
Acupuncture. Everything I can do to not be in Western medical, unless I get shot or my arm gets cut off, I do not want to participate. I'm done. I want to just pay cash and have the people have no records about me. And I deal with that very well. I'm doing a very good job of that right now.
All right. Well, I think that brings us up to our first break. What are we doing, Daniel?
No, I got it here on this end.
Okay. This is Renegade Ramblers Radio Network, 18th century ideas for 21st century thinkers.
I'm going down to the river. I've got a cane pole in my hand.
Looking for a new custom camo dress or scarf? Tail Gunner Apparel. Looking for bath and body products for women and men? Tail Gunner Apparel. Looking for bed scarves and custom home products? Tail Gunner Apparel. Look awesome and feel even better. Tail Gunner Apparel on Facebook or at tailgunnerapparel.etsy.com. That's tailgunnerapparel.etsy.com.
Made love and then you cried. Remember when?
For the last time, I'm pretty sure what's killing the crops is this Brondo stuff.
The Brondo's got what plants crave. It's got electrolytes.
So wait a minute. What you're saying is that you want us to put water on the crops.
Yes.
Water. Like out the toilet?
Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be out of the toilet, but yeah, that's the idea.
But Brondo's got what plants crave.
It's got electrolytes.
Okay, look. The plants aren't growing, so I'm pretty sure that the Brondo's not working. Now, I'm no botanist, but I do know that if you put water on plants, they grow.
Oh, well, I've never seen no plants grow out of no toilet.
Hey, that's good. You sure you ain't the smartest guy in the world?
Yeah.
Okay, look, you want to solve this problem. I want to get my pardon, so why don't we just try it, okay? And not worry about what plants crave.
Brondo's got what plants crave.
Yeah, it's got electrolytes.
What are electrolytes? Do you even know?
It's what they use to make Brondo.
Yeah, but why do they use them to make Brondo?
Because Brondo's got electrolytes.
Renegade Ramblers Radio Network, 18th century ideas for 21st century thinkers.
You're as cold as ice. You're willing to sacrifice our love. You never take advice. Someday you'll pay the price. I know. I've seen it before. It happens all the time.
Well, welcome back to the Renegade Rambler Show, only on the Renegade Rambler Radio Network. Jeff, would you like to reset where we've been, where we're going, and how we're going to get there?
Well, we're going to get there in a rambling fashion. That's how we're going to get there. Well, we just got done talking about healthcare, about a story out of Europe, and we're not going to go back over the whole thing. It's just really disgusting where the courts are going with this in Europe, and we're doing it here as well. And it's just going to get worse. We need to start educating people, and we need to go back to some 18th century ideas, and we're going to get into that probably in the second hour, and that'll probably be the whole hour when we get to the 18th century ideas. But where we're going to go now is I wanted to talk a little bit about some ID issues. Where this all started is I sent an article to Sean about an Arizona law, and he brought me up to speed on that. But I'm going to go and talk about two other things with the IDs Then we'll get into the Arizona thing, and we'll just talk about this issue because it's huge. It's a big issue. There's all kinds of stuff here. I'm going to go with this first one. Is your state's driver's license TSA compliant? Boy, that's a loaded question. The Transportation Security Administration has begun posting airport signs to warn travelers about a deadline a year from now for identifications to board planes. Well, it's not a year from now because it's January 1st, 2018. There are a bunch of states, about 9 or more. I think there was 22, but I think there's 9 now that don't have Real ID compliant licenses. So there was 22 states that said no to the federal government when they passed Real ID. So let's start with Real ID. Sean, is Real ID, is that part of the charter of the Constitution? Where is it?
Article 1, Section 8 would require nothing about Real ID, although my Arizona driver's license, I have a commercial driver's license, which is kind of a federal. CDL is actually a federal thing, which really offends me. I'm at the point I won't travel outside the state bounds. But it says right on here, not federal identification. So if the Border Patrol asks me for ID, why would I even pass this out to them, right?
Well, that's where this is going, because that's what this story is about. With the Real ID Act, like I said, there was about 22. There may have been at one point 29 that said no, and then I think there was like 7 that caved like immediately. They just said, oh, well, whatever, and they did it. And now it's down to 9 that won't be accepted to fly. So your federal government is going to deny you. This is what I wrote in the post on our site. Do you have the papers?
It's all about
no. You cannot travel in these American states without the papers.
Ugh.
It's not a big step to that point when you put these megalomaniacs in Washington, D.C. in charge of the papers. Correct, Sean?
No, oh no, this all rhymes with 39 Czechoslovakia, 39 Poland, 40 Germany. All of
it's just so, Daniel, I mean, like I asked him, where are they getting this authority? I mean, I can't find it. Sean can't find it. Maybe you know. Maybe as another trucker, because we have one trucker that can't figure it out. Maybe it takes 2 truckers to figure out where it is in the Constitution. Maybe you're the one that can do it. Your mic's turned off.
It's right there under the good and plenty clause, Jeff.
Okay.
The federal government will do whatever it wants, whenever it wants, whatever it wants. And if you say, wait a minute, that's not in the charter, they'll go, well, we don't care. The court said we can do it, so we're going to do it. Or like they did back in the early 1800s. Oh, well, the court said that. We don't care what the court says. We're going to do it anyway. They've been doing this for a very long time. I believe the violation started somewhere about the time of the Whiskey Rebellion. So, anyway, I was looking for a sound clip of "Show Me the Papers," but I'm having a hard time finding it right now.
Well, I mean, there's all kind of the old German black and white or World War II movies that you'll find in black and white. There's somewhere in there you're going to find some guy dressed in a black jacket and a hat, and he's going to say that in one of those old black and white World War II movies. But I digress. Let me just read this one paragraph because there's actually one governor we have one thinking governor out there that kind of gets it. Montana Governor Steve Bullock has said Montanans do not want or need Real ID. A program, he said, raises real concerns about the unnecessary collection of Montanans' personal and private information by the federal government. maybe there's two. Kentucky Governor Matt Bevin vetoed legislation in April that aimed to make driver's licenses compliant, saying it has become increasingly clear that there is a tremendous opposition and misunderstanding about this bill. So maybe he doesn't quite get it, but the other one definitely gets it. The Montana governor gets it, that it's not their job to ID, though. If you think about this, guys, since the start of Social Security, we've all been a number, and that's all we are. Correct, Sean?
Oh, absolutely. When they put a serial number on you, I own a business, and the serial number is nothing less than a property number. For those of you in the audience, I'm sorry to tell you this. When I put a serial number on something, that means it's a document of taxation. On the property, the serial number on the forklift, the serial number on the crane. That's how they tax you. When you put a serial number on a human being, that's an ownership document you do not want, but you already have. Get ready, boys and girls.
Yep. So now they're gonna force all these states to comply with this ID so that you can travel. And if they don't comply, you will still have to get a federal ID. You're going to have to march yourself down off to that federal post office and grab an application, and you're going to have a passport to travel between these states in the union. I mean, Daniel, seriously.
I'll tell you, we've been going through this at work. See where I work, they decided they're going to check parking passes now when you go through the gate. So the running joke is, can I see the papers? Do you have the parking pass? Are you sure you're supposed to be here to work? To which we normally say about, yeah, I don't really want to be here, so don't threaten me with a good time. Or, oh, I have the papers. Here's the papers. It's just, it's ridiculous on its face. And my dog has knocked down my curtain yet again. So I'm anyone want a German Shepherd? They might be getting one tonight.
That's all right.
So anyway, we're now at that point where they're going to tell us that we must comply with their ID to do anything. They already require you to have their ID number, our slave number. That's what I call it now, Sean. It's a slave number. I'm a slave. I'm slave number XXX XX XXXX.
I'll tell you mine. It's 528239880. I'm slave. No, I want it tattooed on the back of my neck. It'd be simple. I'll pre-chip myself like my dog. We should pre-chip ourselves. We should all just go get our chips so they can read us when we go in the airport. Is that real ID? Would that be good with you guys?
Ooh, can we do what the Germans did and just tattoo it on our arms?
That's
the market
kind of where I'm at.
Thank you, guys.
Jeff, you're dealing with two truckers here. We put it right down on the basement level.
I know. No, I'm not. I'm just saying it's just basically they're going towards the mark of the beast. We're going to have it on the back of our hand, or we're going to have it on our forehead.
Thank you.
It's going to either be on our forehead or on the back of our hand. So it really, I mean, okay, we could talk about that. And it's, I mean, because we're all Christians, we all believe that there is going to be a mark of the beast. And it's coming. And this is really the introduction and how we're getting there. So we'll just dispense with that. We're not going to go into that at this point. But it really is what your Social Security number is, your slave number. That is the number where they get what's theirs of what's it's not really yours. It's theirs. Everything's theirs. You don't own the property. If you don't pay your property taxes, they take it. It's not yours. It's theirs. So they just extort you to live there. You don't really own that paycheck you earned. That's theirs. They're just giving you back some of it. They're letting you keep some of it. they've already got it already set up where they get theirs first, so it's theirs. They're just letting you have some of it. You're a slave, and that's your slave number. This wasn't where we were going with this, but that's where we're headed right now.
Well, that's where we're going to end up.
might as well go ahead and do it.
Oh my soul.
So, all right, let's jump into the second story out of this ID thing. We talked about this already, but here we are. Now you can get a gender-neutral driver's license in D.C. They were plotting that now they would become the first people in the United States to choose X as their gender marker instead of male or female on a driver's license and identifications.
Oh, can I interrupt you for a minute, Jeff?
Go ahead, please do.
I know you would hate me to interrupt you on this.
No, please do.
My boy had to go to the doctor's office for a cold, right? So they sent us one of these fancy little survey things. I already put it in the envelope where I showed it to you. And you go all the way down through, and it goes, are you male or female? And I had my wife on the phone because I was filling it out for her. I said, I should put a third bubble in there and go, how dare you ask me on a binary question whether I'm male or female? Have you no sense of the modern time? Where's the option for Wookiee?
Yep. So, we've talked about this. We had that other I think it was Oregon that was going to put this on. It was Oregon or Washington. It was one of the, it's out there on the left coast. And trust me, I don't subscribe to the right left thing, but I've always just called it the left coast. They're now off their rockers because there's two. That's it. Two sexes. That's it. Male, female. There's no X. There's no. God only knows what they all want. They have made it so it's impossible to even ID people. Because think about this. Because of their political correctness, there are religions now that they're going to allow to wear their burqas on their ID card. So tell me, Sean, can you see who that is under that burqa on this driver's license? Is this that person under the burqa in front of you? Or is there a different person under that burqa in front of you going to fly on this plane? And we can't look under the burqa because that's not really nice. So who knows what's under the burqa?
Well, I don't fly, so I don't. I'm very difficult. I quit flying when they basically after the Patriot Act, when they got the right to touch me, and they have the right to touch me. I have the right to not comply, which means I'm not flying. I'm done. Right. And I have a tough time. I just have a difficult time. If those people want to vote for a legislature, that's basically the death of a republic. I'm just done with it. I'm just done. I'm just done. They want to vote for them. You know what? That's the end of you. They will enslave you. They've done it since Greece. They've done it in Rome. Never destroyed a country. Either did the slaves. The legislatures destroy everything. And that's all I can say right now.
Yep.
So,
why don't we get into this Arizona thing after the break? Because we're fast approaching, aren't we there, Daniel?
Yes. Like 30 seconds.
All right. Why don't you deal with that then?
All right. This is the Renegade and Rambler show on our 2-hour Independence Day special. And it got Jeff and Sean on here, and of course myself, because after all, it's not a show without me. But anyway, we're going to take this break, and we'll be right back after a word from Jeff Johnson's radio commercials.
Took off for a weekend last month just to try and recall the whole year.
Yeah, I think Judith's point of view is very valid, Rich. Provided the movement never forgets that it is the inalienable right of every man or woman to rid himself or herself, agreed? Thank you, brother, or sister. Where was I? I think you finished. Oh, right. Furthermore, it is the birthright of every man or woman. Why don't you shut up about women, Stan? You're putting us off. Women have a perfect right to play a part in our movement, Reg. Why are you always on about women, Stan? I want to be one. What? I want to be a woman. From now on, I want you all to call me Loretta. What? It's my right as a man.
Oh, why do you want to be Loretta, Stan?
I want to have babies. You want to have babies? It's every man's right to have babies if he wants them. But you can't have babies. Don't you oppress me. I'm not oppressing you, Stan. I've got a womb. Where's the fetus going to gestate? You're going to keep it in a box?
Here, I've got an idea. Suppose you agree that he can't actually have babies, not having a womb, which is nobody's fault, not even the Romans, but that he can have the right to have babies.
Good idea, Judith. We shall fight the oppressors for your right to have babies, brother. Sister, sorry. What's the point? What? What's the point of fighting for his right to have babies when he can't have babies? It is symbolic of our struggle against oppression. Symbolic of his struggle against reality.
The left's struggle against reality becomes more and more apparent every day. Don't be a relativist. Listen to Renegade Ramblers Radio. 18th century ideas for 21st century thinkers.
He gone and painted his entire Chevy Cavalier. Camouflage. Disappears when it pulls out of his garage.
You won't disappear when you wear Tail Gunner apparel, custom camo clothing, and all natural bath and body products for women and men too. And don't forget to ask about their line of custom home products and bed scarves. Look awesome and feel even better. Tail Gunner Apparel. On Facebook at Tail Gunner Apparel and at tailgunnerapparel.etsy.com. That's tailgunnerapparel.etsy.com.
Ain't nothing doesn't go with camouflage. You can't blend in the country. You can't stand out in the fashion world. A little too tall, could have used a few pounds. Tight pants points, hollering out.
All right, folks, welcome back. This is the Renegade and Rambler show, and I'm your host, the Renegade, and we have the Rambler and we have Sean. But first, word about Tail Gunner. She makes some really good products. I use them myself, and my wife absolutely loves the body butter. I use the beard oil, and it does quite a good job, considering I have a rather wiry beard. So we totally recommend it. We do use her products, and they are awesome products. Okay, now back to the Real ID, or no, this wasn't the Real ID. This was the Arizona ID Act.
Yeah. I'll just set the table here for you, Sean, and then you can bring everyone up to date because you've already told me what's up with this, but it really is kind of important as far as this whole ID thing. Again, Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona, the nanny security state has reared its ugly head again, this time in the form of a new law that requires passengers in a vehicle to carry identification, with violators facing up to 4 months in jail and $750 fine. Last week, House Bill 2305 was introduced by Representative Anthony Kern, Republican, District 20. in hopes of reinstating an Arizona law that was struck down in 2002 after a judge, well, here we go with the judges again, ruled the statute as too vague to enforce. So bring us up to date where this bill is, because you've already told us.
No, it got out of committee, which is very dangerous to me. That I mean, the fact that it wasn't just lapped out of committee, it got out of committee. It did not make the what we call the reading of the House, if that makes sense. And again, I continue to say a legislature is the death of a republic. But it got out of committee. It died right there. It did not get a reading of the full House. This guy, Anthony Kern, rhymes
District
with
20.
Adolf
You
Hitler.
might have an idea where District 20 is. Neither of us do.
It doesn't matter.
We're East Coasters.
No, Anthony Kern rhymes with Hitler, Adolf Hitler. As far as I'm concerned, paper please. Anthony Kern.
He's a good guy. He's got an R after his name, Sean. Come on.
I know, that's the problem with me. I know. You're right. You are correct, sir. He's a Republican, and police, don't get me wrong, police need to know who they're dealing with when they're talking to four people in a car, someone over for no reason whatsoever. They need to know everyone in the car, and to me, I call that tyranny.
So you have a headlight out. They pull you over because you have a headlight out. Now they're going to make you a criminal, a misdemeanor. It has to be a misdemeanor. If they're going to put you in jail for 4 months, that's going to be a misdemeanor. You're now going to be a criminal. You're going to go to prison for 4 months. You're going to owe them $750. That's what this is all about. It's about the money.
Yeah.
You're going to have to pay them. You're going to, okay, Sean, Daniel. Well, Sean, no, you don't answer this because you own your business. Daniel, if you had to go to jail for 4 months, would you still have a job when you got back?
Depends. It only depends because I'm in a union shop, so they can't terminate me for something that happens outside of work. So in most businesses, yes, you would lose your job.
So let's make this person a criminal, make them lose their job, and then make them give us some more money.
Oh, but they probably
this is freedom, folks. We're that darn free here.
Jeff, it's more insidious. In this state, they would probably let you out to work so you have money to pay for the restitution. Because while the fine may only be about $100, the fine's $100. You give up 4 months of your life because you left your wallet at home. And on top of that, now you have a $2,000 restitution bill because you got to pay the sheriff to take you back and forth to work and back and forth to prison from the courthouse and all this because you made the mistake of leaving your wallet at the house.
So this, Sean, this is exactly the stuff that we're supposed to. This is what stuff that we fought to be free so that we could have laws like this, right? That's what our founding fathers fought for. So we'd have this type of government that makes us this free.
On this day, boys and girls, just so you guys know, 2 July, year of our Lord 1776, 56 men came together and signed their death warrants to give us freedom. And this is what we get. This is the freedom we get. I named every one of them today on my show. Because
after the break, we're going to get into that whole thing really, really, really good. But you go ahead, bring us along with that idea a little bit further.
No, it's horrifying because an active and irate citizenry, the name of my show, Brushfires of Freedom, brought to you by Samuel Adams, to have that kind of irate citizenry to keep this going is why you guys are here. It's why I do my show. It's why you invite me on, and I appreciate you bringing me on. Thank you.
Well, it's just that, all right, so we have seatbelt laws, we have speeding tickets, we have DOT forms, we have everything else, and everything has a fee assessed to it. So, did Jefferson list in the grievances against the king fees and fines, or officers of the law harassing the people?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So right away,
Yeah.
We can tie this back to the Declaration of Independence. We fought a war over stopping junk like this.
Yes, we did. Yes,
I believe all Henry's prophecies have taken effect by now.
Well, it's just we are so content allowing the officers of the crown. We have rulers. We don't have public servants. We don't have legislators, and you don't like legislators anyway, and I like them less and less every day. We were talking before the show that it'd be really a wonderful thing if every once in a while they just stop legislating and leave us alone. But they can't. I mean, they have to justify their existence. Is that correct, Sean? Or go ahead, Daniel.
I was going to say, I'm willing to pay them their full salary now if they just go home and stay home and never come back.
I agree.
I will more than willing write them the checks for the taxes and tell them to just go home and stay there, and we will let them know when we need them, and just don't legislate, don't do anything, just go sit in your house and give commencement addresses, I guess.
Well, there's a few legislators and legislatures in the states that are part-time. They only go there for a very short period. They do their business and they go home. They have their own jobs. This isn't their job to go to their state capital and make law. Their job is back home, but they go there, they do the state business, and then they go home. I think we never really should have had a full-time legislature in Washington, D.C. I think that was a terrible, terrible oversight in the Constitution.
We don't right now. There are only 3 days this year, but in those 143 days, they are going to wreck these words. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to separation.
Yep, you're reading from up in the preamble, and when we
that's the Declaration.
Is that the end?
No, that's the Declaration.
That's in the preamble. That's in the preamble. That was the very beginning. Is that the declaratory statement at the end?
No, that's from the Declaration. No, not the
from the Declaration. As I said, you're reading from the preamble portion.
Yes.
You're reading from the beginning.
Yes.
Right. I'm going to read the Declaration, because I'm going to read the legal portion when we come back from the break, because that is the introduction. That's the preamble. He's setting up for the Declaration at the end. So that's why I was going to skip all that. I did mention that we have the grievances. There were more grievances. They just kind of cut it back. They weren't happy with some of the grievances. So to get a unanimous vote, there was some that were left out. So what we're left with is pretty indicative of where we're at, right, Daniel? If you look at those, you could go right through those grievances, and you could really quickly identify that we were doing the same thing today.
Well, if you want to know about that, I did one. What was it? 2 years ago, 3 years ago? It's on my personal Facebook, or not Facebook, but YouTube feed. I'll probably post a link to it. But I went over all the grievances and how many of them apply to today's government.
Oh yeah. Well, let's see here. I'll just read a couple of them here. he has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and to eat out their substance. We were just talking about legislation that would make it a crime not to have your ID as a passenger in a car. So they pull you over, they pull the driver over for a headlight, and they put you in jail for 4 months and fine you $750 because you didn't carry a driver's license with you. I mean, is that sending out officers in swarms to eat out our substance?
Of course, this would have been the state government doing this, so this is a little bit of a different situation.
A little bit different, but it's the same
effect.
But see, the thing is, we have accepted that even at the state level, it's acceptable, and we really need to start smaller than that and start governing ourselves at a local level. Would you go and say that, Sean, that we need to stop even at the state level and start thinking more locally?
No, absolutely. I'm falling back to family, community, and church, and you guys might not like that, but that's my game. Family, community, and church. And some people might just think I'm a jackass. That's okay.
No,
I believe smaller is better.
No one thinks of that on this show. I can guarantee you that.
I hope not.
I've been calling for that for a long time.
I appreciate that, Daniel.
All right. Well, let's see here. Imposing taxes on us. Imposing taxes on us without our consent. Our national government, and I said the N-word, and I said it on purpose. Our national government doesn't do that today, does it?
Oh, God. No, not at all.
Yeah. Let's see. For depriving us in many cases of the benefit of a trial by jury. I'm not going to get into the rightness or wrongness of anything, but let's see. How long have the Bundys been in prison now without even a trial by a jury at all? I mean, it's been at least a year they've been in prison, and I've never heard a word about them even talking about a trial coming up for these people, the Bundys. I'm not going to defend them one way or the other. I don't know all the specifics. I know what's on the internet and stuff, but I don't know. But I mean, our government's doing the same thing today. You know, at the Patriot Act, they could imprison all of us just for our ideas.
Yes, but the wonderful First Amendment saves us all, right? Yeah, not so much.
Not so much. I like that.
The First Amendment, you have freedom of speech only if you agree with the ruling party at the time of your making the comment. But if you say it while the ruling party agrees with you and then 5 years later the other party gets control, they will use that against you still. And they will still arrest you because the wonderful thing about the internet is nothing ever disappears. It's all still there. They just got to do some digging to find it. Mainly out in Utah where they built that nice big facility to capture everybody's data from around the planet. So much for the Fourth Amendment.
So we really are living in very similar times. It's really funny that, you know, all of us have heard them. If you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. I don't even know if you learn from history that you aren't doomed to repeat it, because it seems like everything that happens before always seems to come back around and happen again. I mean,
history rhymes.
It's like a loop. I mean, we didn't learn. I mean, okay, if we learned from history and the Nazis and all those guys were bad for asking for zippapers, then why today are we coming all the way back around and we're going to do the same darn thing now?
Because it's all for the children. We've got to protect the children, guys. Come on, man. Really?
Don't you guys love how it's all about the children, except when it comes to abortion?
Or the babies in Europe that want to get treated.
Yeah, because they have a brain problem and they'll probably never live a full life. And we're going to play God here and determine who can be born and who can't be born, and who should be allowed to live and who should be allowed to die, and when you should die and how you should die. And well, you know, Jeff, when you turn 70 now, so you have a dignified death. We're going to bring you in, let you watch TV, and we're going to give you an IV, and you'll just drift off to sleep. And you will have lived a nice, full life.
Well, Sean, you're old enough to remember that movie where they sent him off and they killed all the old people. You remember that one?
Soil and Green, I think it is.
I was calling it Logan's Run. I call it Logan's
either
Run.
that or Logan's Run. They were the same type of. They were both that dystopian future. Well, we're getting close. We're almost there now, and I think Daniel, I think we're up for a break, aren't we?
Yes, we are. We're actually 30 seconds over.
Okay. I thought that's why I was kind of slow going that. I thought you were going to say, well, let's go to a break.
Okay.
This is the
break.
Okay. Then this is the Renegade Ramblers Radio Network, 18th century ideas for 21st century thinkers.
I've been phoning a night and morning. I heard you say, damn, I'm not home. Now you're confessing, but I'm still
Prepare to attack. Prepare to attack on the count of 3. 1, 2. Wait! What happened? Where are they? I don't know, sir. They must have hyperjets on that thing. And what do we got on this thing? A Cuisinart? No, sir. We'll find them, catch them. Yes, sir. Prepare ship for light speed. No. Light speed is too slow. Light speed too slow? Yes, we're going to have to go right to ludicrous speed. Ludicrous speed? Sir, we've never gone that fast before. I don't know if the ship can take it. What's the matter, Colonel Sanders? Chicken? Prepare ship! Prepare ship for ludicrous speed. Fasten all seatbelts. Seal all entrances and exits. Close all shops in the mall. Cancel the free-range circus. Secure all animals in the zoo. Give me that, you petty excuse for an officer. Now hear this. Ludicrous speed. Sir, had you better buckle up? Buckle this. Ludicrous speed. Go! What the hell was that? Spaceball 1. They've gone to plaid.
Tired of this illegal and immoral national government running at ludicrous speed? We haven't gone plaid here at Renegade Ramblers Radio. 18th century ideas for 21st century thinkers.
It's my great pleasure to be with you. Good evening. You're an economist working in the banking sector, yeah? I am. Should I get a lawyer? I think I'm entitled to legal representation. If we no. This is just a few simple questions. Simple questions? Yeah. How simple? Well, they're theoretical. Theoretical. I can deal. Yeah, okay, we can deal with that. Yeah. I mean, don't hold me to the answers, but why not? Well, because I'm an economist and I can think of a different set of circumstances under which my responses might vary somewhat. Yeah, and everything's connected to everything else, isn't it? In economics, I'm afraid that is the global fear right at the moment. Yeah. Now, right, there's a lot of uncertainty in world economics. There is a great deal of uncertainty and a lack of confidence. Yeah, and there's a lot of talk of quantitative easing. That's a term we hear all the time. That's a term you hear a lot at the moment, yes. Yeah, what exactly is quantitative easing? Well, I can answer this because actually we're advising a couple of governments about this right at the moment. And what are you saying to them? Well, perhaps I should just take you through what we're telling them to do. Yeah, sure. I mean, I won't go into a lot of detail. That's indiscreet, but this will give you an idea of how quantitative easing works. Yeah. Take printer out of box and place on table with the out tray facing the window. The out tray facing the window. That's right. Load paper into the paper receptacle and place currency on glass tray F. Right. Check alignment by printing out a test page. Right. Go into copy settings and select double-sided and the number of copies you require. How many would you suggest? In the case of one of our clients, it's 80 billion. 120 billion in the case of another client, and one client wants 1 trillion of these things.
Can you get printers to do that?
No, you can't. You're going to need a bank of them. I mean, it's a multi-printer job.
Ones,
yeah, big industrial strength. Yeah. Big like a Bofors gun, all facing the window.
Yeah.
Once you've ascertained that you have the alignment correct, you alert the banking sector, open the window, and press copy.
And stand well back.
Yes, you got to stand well back because they can create a bit of a vacuum while reaching cruising height.
Whereabouts?
In the super fund industry very often.
And you'd have to consider the wind direction too.
Oh, yeah, you don't want to be doing this upwind.
No, because you get covered in pretend money, couldn't you?
Covered in what?
Pretend money.
No, this is not pretend money. This is real currency we're creating.
But aren't you just printing it off? I mean, these are photocopies, aren't they?
Excuse me. Dave, this is not going to work. Because I just explained it to a bloke and he saw through it straight away. Are you in banking?
No.
No, he's not even in the banking racket. Okay, I'll try that.
Try what?
Have you ever heard of Rumpelstiltskin?
No.
Good. Now we're getting somewhere. Pull up a chair. I'll tell you a tale.
Well, welcome back to the Renegade and Rambler show. And as you've noticed, we are now in our second hour, and time just flies on this show. So let's get, well, first of all, there's 2 ways to bring about inflation. They talked about it one during the break. Second way is raise the minimum wage without raising the actual level of the worker. Yeah, we talked about that last week. So we'll get back into it. Okay, Jeff, you want to reset or you want to jump right in?
Well, I'll just kind of jump into it here. So, Sean, on your show today, you spoke about a subject about this date. So why don't you tell everyone what happened on this date, and then at some point after that, I'll read the actual legal part of the subject we're going to talk about. So go ahead. What happened today on July 2nd in history?
In July 2nd, 1776, if that's what we're talking about, I hope, 56 men came together and actually signed a death pledge. They signed a document that basically declared them dead. Took off the crown and gave us freedom. And ever since that day, I'm going to tell you what, we have been fighting freedom ever since. We've been wanting to wear chains rather than have freedom because freedom is so freaking dangerous. I'm sorry. We live in a collection of states that does not want freedom. I believe we want to be controlled.
Well, I made that very statement about a subject we talked about earlier, about that general that wanted service from everyone for 1 year once they're 18 years old. But people are good with tyranny. They don't mind a little bit of tyranny, just as long as it's their tyrant doing it. So when we had King Obama, half the people, 50%, are going, oh, he's terrible, he's a tyrant. Now that we have King Trump, we have half the people, 50% of people going, oh, now we got a tyrant Trump. Everyone's happy as long as they're fighting over that red and blue.
Yeah.
No, it's even worse right now. They're not saying tyrant Trump. They're saying, how is it? Oh, he's mean. He's just mean.
Yeah. So, and let's go back to your 52 guys, Sean. The very first person that signed, it's everyone's taught this even in elementary school. He wrote it as big. He wrote it larger than everyone else. What was the guy that wrote his name larger than everyone else? I mean, everyone I think knows
his name was John Hancock, and he said, "I will make it big enough where the king does not have to get his reading glasses out to pick me out." John Hancock,
right? Because he knew exactly what you're talking about. It wasn't so much a death pledge. What it was is they knew that they would be considered by the crown to be committing treason in
Yes.
their mind. But what really was this document? What are we celebrating on the 4th? This Tuesday, everyone's talking about Happy 4th of July, and everyone's going to get hot dogs, hamburgers, and beer, and they're going to shoot fireworks off, and they're all going to say Happy Independence Day. Well, yeah, but no. So what are we celebrating, Daniel? Because I think I made it pretty clear on our Facebook page.
We are celebrating the greatest act of secession the world had ever seen up until 76.
Jackpot.
So that's why when I posted that happy secession celebration, because that's what we're celebrating. We're celebrating secession. But that's not what's being taught. It's Independence Day, the Liberty Bell. Oh, a piece of paper. Thomas Jefferson wrote these words, and 99% of the people in this union have no clue what they even are. You started in the preamble there, Sean. I mean, and I bet you most people don't know that.
Absolutely. And here's the words that these are the words that actually mean something to me, that I actually tell people. Governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. The words of, and there's debate. A lot of people that I'm tied in with some Liberty guys. It could be the words of Thomas Paine. It could be the words of Jefferson. But I'm going to tell you what. It is their right. It is their duty to throw off such government. That's the key words there.
Good, Daniel. You look like you want to say something.
I'm just waiting for the long train of abuses.
All right. Well, that's what I'm saying. This, what you're picking up here, and I'm going to go with Jefferson just simply because that is the common at this point. Until there's somebody that can give me some historical reference to say that he didn't, I'll just go ahead and stick with Jefferson. And that these are his ideas. And actually, this came from. I believe it was Richard Henry Lee. Well, I think this was Lee's proposal to declare independence. And so then...
The Lee Amendment.
What's that? The Lee Amendment, correct. And then Jefferson was, as far as I know, was appointed to write it. There was a committee, actually. There was more than just Jefferson, but they basically appointed him to write it, if our historian friend is correct. So he then, after in that preamble where he's stating all these lofty ideas, these 18th century ideas, because what you just said is that 18th century idea that we have a duty to throw off a tyrannical government. Correct there, Sean?
Absolutely. You have a duty to not be tyrannized. We're free, man. We're free. We're free people.
Yes. And when I was having that conversation earlier with those gentlemen about that article with the general, that's what I said. You're quite okay with government enslaving the people, the enslaving citizens. Excuse me. Let's back that up, because we're the citizens. We're not a thing. We're not an object. We're not a resource. We are a citizen. And the fact that they're okay with government making us just a thing to be used, an item, that really I mean, that's scary that we have people that are willing to go to that rather than go to the point where the Declaration is saying that it's our duty to throw off governments that want to make us their slaves.
Absolutely. Daniel, go ahead.
Make us slaves. My friends, we are already slaves.
Yes, we are. But this is a different time. This is actually what that proposal was. And I have another article here. It goes back a couple of years if I can find it. And it was from another general, but he wasn't talking about, I can't find it. He wasn't talking about just military service. He wanted everyone to serve the government for a year, whether it's in a Peace Corps or whatever. I mean, that was like in 2015. So we have to get away from this idea that we're servants to them. We're not their servants. We're citizens. We're not taxpayers. I mean, Sean, does that not just
You say taxpayer, and I'm ready to get the baseball bat. I'm like, no, I am a citizen. When people say, shouldn't we protect the taxpayer? That's them admitting the fact. That's what I love it. They're admitting the fact. You are a tax cattle.
I had arguments going all week on Facebook over how I was being mean and cruel because I didn't want to have taxes deducted from my paycheck to pay for they're not all bums, but basically the bum living down on the street corner or the person that's milking the system in their house. And yes, there are people that do this. I've witnessed people buying steak with their food stamp card while I'm buying hamburger meat and then laughing about it. I'm not naive, people. Don't even try to tell me you work in the government. I was arguing with a government worker that was a lesbian, and I was arguing with some twit libtard on a community page about it. And they were all stuck up on how I said people are poor by choice, and they were like, that's BS. You can't be poor by choice. I'm like, the hell you can't. You can too be poor by choice. I see it every day. When UPS, where I work at, is hiring people at $15 an hour and they can't find anybody to do the work, you're poor by choice.
You are correct.
When you choose to live in your squalor and have everybody else buy you food and clothing and pay for your heat because you don't want to go and work, you choose to be poor. There's no reason why anybody around here can't find a job. Yeah, you may have to work 2 jobs. Guess what? Get off your ass and work 2 jobs. I work 70 hours a week. Join the daggone club already.
Thank you. Thank you. Daniel, you know what? I am in your camp, brother. I work 2 jobs every week. And most people go, what do you mean you work 2 jobs? I work 80 hours a week. I run a place. That's what it takes to keep it running. And you are correct. This place is absolutely in dire need of people to work, and nobody wants to do it. And most people want to say, oh, why are Mexicans here? Well, I'll tell you what. How many white kids you seen pouring asphalt in Tucson, Arizona? None.
Well, this is a little bit of the fault of government because they're telling everyone they need to go to college so they can get a really important job, not like, welding or being a plumber or electrician and or a carpenter and building things or driving trucks or driving or operating a crane or name the trade. I mean, there are jobs out there. I've been talking to some about they need to go and they're in high school. They need to start looking at they're around in New York State. There's this thing called BOCES and they have trades there. It's for kids that aren't going to go to college because honestly, more kids should not go to college. Less kids should go to college.
70-20-10.
What's that?
It should be 70-20-10. 70% walk out and go to work, 20% go to trade school and or college, and 10% are too stupid to do anything and they wash our cars.
So
actually, they're government bureaucrats now. That's the problem.
Well, the 10% could go work for government. You're right, Daniel. You got it. You got it pegged.
And that's the 10% that probably do, because they can't do anything else. But anyway, I'm trying to get this young man to go to learn a trade. I tell him, go weld. You'll make twice what I'm making and working for the government. And I do work for the government, folks. I'm sorry. Yes, I work in law enforcement. I'm the man, but I don't agree with the man a lot. So this is Renegade Ramblers Radio Network, 18th century ideas for 21st century thinkers.
I was born a rambling man with swamp water on my hands. Daddy died so young and I had to help mama get by. So I learned how to sing those songs. I learned how to honky-tonk 'em on. And I learned how to sleep in a different bed every night.
You've been under investigation, Mr. Wordsworth, for the mandatory period of 1 year and 11 months. You are found to be obsolete. The purpose of this hearing is to make a finding in the matter and make a sentence accordingly. Do you understand that, Mr. Wordsworth? Your occupation, Mr. Wordsworth?
A librarian.
A librarian. Having to do with books. Yes, sir? Books. Since there are no more books, Mr. Wordsworth, there are no more libraries. The field investigators in your sector have classified you as obsolete. Your rights are as follows, Mr. Wordsworth. You are to be liquidated within a period of 48 hours. You are obsolete, Mr. Wordsworth.
A lie. No man is obsolete.
You have no function, Mr. Wordsworth. You're an anachronism, like a ghost from another time.
I am nothing more than a reminder to you that you cannot destroy truth by burning pages.
You're a bug, Mr. Wordsworth, a crawling insect, an ugly, misformed little creature who has no purpose here, no meaning.
I am a human being.
Delusions, Mr. Wordsworth, delusions that you inject into your veins with printer's ink, the narcotics that you call literature, poetry, essays of all kind, all of it an opiate. You have nothing but spindly limbs and a dream, and the state has no use for your kind.
I don't care. I tell you, I don't care. I'm a human being. I exist. And if I speak one thought aloud, that thought lives, even after I'm shoveled into my grave.
The Chancellor, the late Chancellor, was only partly correct. He was obsolete. But so is the state, the entity he worshipped. Any state, any entity, any ideology that fails to recognize the worth, the dignity, the rights of man, that state is obsolete.
We do not worship the illegal, immoral, and obsolete state here at Renegade Ramblers Radio. Renegade thinking is always outside of the box.
There is a little-known codicil in the Faber College Constitution, which gives the dean unlimited power to preserve order in time of campus emergency.
Tired of the general government using that self-proclaimed codicil in the Constitution to give themselves unlimited powers? Well, we are too here at the glorious cause, and we're gonna
kick those punks off campus.
Renegade Ramblers Radio Network, 18th century ideas for 21st century thinkers.
fast car, go cruising down the highway, a Corvette Stingray. I do it my way, got a good job. I'm making lots of money. I look good and I'm funny, so I might want some honey. The gypsy said the brother with you need some sensible cheese.
Oh, you'll love this, Sean. I've got to say this before we end it, before the show gets close to ending, because you're going to want to go off. This wonderful person I was arguing with had one of her buddies pop into the room, right? One reason why Facebook is completely worthless, but
I don't do
there.
it.
And this woman said, "Well, don't your kids go to public school?" No, my kids don't go to public school. My kids are homeschooled. I take that responsibility. Don't you run on public cars or public highways? I'm like,
roads.
Yeah, because I don't really have a choice in the matter. You breathe clean air. Oh, the clean air.
Oh.
She said that, and I was like, yes. Let's see. I run on public roads, and I'm taxed rather heavily in a big rig for it anyway. I pay like $1 more a gallon, and I
You're
burn
paying
more
that
fuel.
price.
And I have to drive this very unreliable vehicle now because the EPA says it burns cleaner fuel. It burns almost twice as much fuel, but it burns it cleaner. But the math doesn't work out because when you burn twice as much, that means there's twice as much emissions. So that the little bit you think you're saving, you're actually losing. So she never replied back when I lit into her.
Well, and you know, Daniel, I don't do Facebook, but my every weekend T-shirt. It's, of course, yesterday I was off and today I was off. I wear my taxation is theft T-shirt. And Jeff, don't get it wrong. I'm pretty sure it was a government employee. I was in Walmart today, and I'm buying a whole bunch of stuff. I'm making my barbecue sauce stuff away. On the 4th of July, I'm giving away a whole bunch of barbecue sauce. So I'm buying all my stuff and everything. And the guy walks by me. He's actually wearing a gun, which tells me he has some sort of freedom in his mind. It's in the Walmart. He's open carry. And the guy looks at me and he goes, "Oh, taxation is theft. Who's going to build the roads?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Let's go 2,500 years ago. Who's going to build the pyramids? The slaves. Let's go to 1854. Who's going to pick the cotton? The slaves." And the guy, of course, the guy was, he's ready to go to blows. And I'm ready to kind of be peaceful. I'm a voluntarism. I'm standing there. The guy's a foot taller than me, and I'm just laughing. And he's like, but you don't understand. I'm like, yes, I do. Other people don't own me. I don't own you, and you don't own me. Can we just get to that?
A lot of people today, they don't get that whole Bastiat idea. And that's where kind of this all, Bastiat's kind of the father of taxation is theft.
Absolutely.
He was a 19th century dude, but he was really into the 18th century because his ideas were really 18th century. But in the early 1800s, he wrote the book called The Law. And that book should be required. I'm sorry. If I'm going to have government require something, it's to read the book, The Law, because he presents the reasons why taxation is theft. It's couched in legalese. They do it through legislation. Again, you don't like legislators, and I think I'm getting to the point where I don't like them either, and I'm coming more and more to your idea that legislatures are awful. But he's saying that they're doing it through legal plunder, so he's calling it theft. That's legal plunder is legal theft. Well, it's not legal, but they're making it legal because they're legislating legality. They're legislating theft is what they're doing.
Well, and as I believe it's Rothbard said, if taxes are a great idea, which they're not, they're theft. a fair tax is no more than a fair theft. And that's where I'm at right now. There's no fair tax. No.
Well, there's a meme I shared once online that said before 1913, there were roads, there were universities, there was all these other things, and they didn't tax us for them. So all that stuff happens. It will happen without government. We don't have to have government to tax us to steal our money to end up with roads and universities and all these other things, because they will happen. Someone out there will find a need, and somebody will fill that need if they find it's financially beneficial to them.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And that's my deal. I mean, if it's a great idea, it does not require force. That's my game. I'm just a non-force guy. I don't believe in force.
Yeah,
Daniel,
it's gotten pretty bad at the end of that whole diatribe, going back and forth with them, and they were all hung up because I was saying about taxation stuff, like you dudes, Sean. They got to the point where they finally ended their argument with, it's illegal not to pay taxes. I was like, yes, that settles a moral question. When you say something is legal or illegal, that settles the moral question of, well, let's see. Abortion's legal. I guess murder's legal.
Yeah. So let's just go back to 1941 with the enslavement and capture of American citizens and putting them into pens. That was enforced by the Supreme Court. It was an executive order that was actually enforced by the Supreme Court when they penned up American citizens. Was that legal, guys?
According to the Supreme Court, it was.
Was it moral and ethical?
No.
Absolutely not.
Well, we can go back.
So you go back to Jim Crow. You go back to every single thing that stupid court or legislature did. And I mean, my main thing is the best killer of all people is government. Then the bonus army. The bonus army. They killed our own. They killed our own soldiers. They killed our own veterans.
Well, you look at Washington. They just signed the Constitution, and within 3 years, he's sending an army into Pennsylvania to force people to pay a whiskey tax.
Whiskey tax. I know.
So, I mean, you can't tell me that's not theft. He sent men with guns to collect the government's money, their demand, their extortion. And I've been putting on my checks for my property tax, which I don't call property tax anymore. I call it property extortion, which is precisely what it is. Every time I send my check in for that property extortion, that's exactly right on it. I put 2007. I just sent it in. I put 2017 property extortion fee. And I'm sure I'm not real popular there, but that's what they do by threat of force. This house that I live in, that I have no mortgage for, I supposedly own free and clear, I must pay government to live here because they require it. They will send guys with guns to get their money.
The worst part about it is, Jeff, they probably don't even look at that part. They look at your name and the amount, and they scan the check and walk away from it.
I know, but someone along the line might actually see that check.
We can hope. We can hope.
And maybe that'll open someone else's eyes, and someone at the bank might look at that and go, I never thought of it that way, but that's kind of what it is.
Well, and I will say this, government, if you refuse to pay unjust taxes, your property will be confiscated. If you attempt to defend your property, you will be arrested. If you resist arrest, you will be clubbed. If you defend yourself against clubbing, you will be shot dead. These procedures right now in this country are called the rule of law.
Did you guys see online that those kids that were selling water in the lawn in Washington D.C. and they got arrested for selling water? Selling water.
How dare they?
Water.
That wasn't government sanctioned water, was it? They didn't have a government sanctioned license to sell the water. That wasn't governmentally sanctioned. How dare they do anything without the government sanction? Can you name one thing that we can do without the government telling us yes or no on?
You can't cut hair. You can't drive a truck. You can't be a nurse. Can't be a doctor. Can't name something that the government doesn't require you to get their permission to do.
Do you know that for Social Security, you're supposed to let them know that you're dead? You can't even die without informing the government. Now, granted, the doctors normally do it, but still, someone has to notify the government that you are dead because they do not know.
So I'm going to reset here a little bit because I told you guys I was going to read this. Most schools teach the first two pretty much paragraphs of the Declaration. That's the preamble. That's what everyone always reads. No one ever goes past the gripes that we had against the king and goes to the actual legal portion of the Declaration of Independence. And so I'm going to read it here to set us up. We'll go to break, and then we'll come back and finish the show discussing the legal portion of the Declaration of Independence. So after you read all the things that the Crown is doing to us, the reasons Jefferson or the writer lists those things as he talks about in the preamble about giving a reason why we're leaving, this is where he writes the legal portion. We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America in General Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right, ought to be free and independent states, and that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. And below that are the signatures of those men.
I love it, man. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff.
So why don't we take a quick early break, Daniel? I know we're a couple minutes early. Why don't we take a break? We'll come back and discuss that because, I mean, it's going to take longer than 2 minutes to discuss.
Yeah, probably a whole another hour at this point. But all right, this is the Renegade and Rambler show on the Renegade Rambler Network, and we're going to go to break now. We'll be right back after this.
Well, I'm going down to the river. I've got a cane pole in my hand.
What you doing, Graham?
Reading history, Pinky.
Oh, I love doing that, but I always forget to buff the chrome.
That would be waxing the car, Pinky. That's different. Oh. Reading history doesn't make things shiny. It edifies you and prepares you to confront the possibilities of destiny.
Did you know that every time your mouth moves, strange sounds come out?
I'll explain this so that even you can understand.
Here at Renegade Ramblers Radio, we like to explain things so even the ruling elite can understand it. 18th century ideas for 21st century thinkers. This is the Renegade Ramblers Radio Network, featuring the Renegade and Rambler Show on Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, The Glorious Cause on Saturday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, and the Barrett Briefing on podcast. 18th century ideas for 21st century thinkers.
Chiefly, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
There are many sanctions we could take. Financial institutions, for one. Believe it or not, the Russians have a very weak economy. We could do a lot more damage there. Individuals could be sanctioned. Organizations could be sanctioned. There's a wide range of options that we still have to respond to a Russian attack. When you attack a country, it's an act of war. That would have to constitute an attack on the United States of America.
Let me ask you this question. Is Vladimir Putin a war criminal?
I would not use that term.
Well, let me describe the situation in Aleppo, and perhaps that will help you reach that conclusion.
Much heaven, no, it's much harder to know. I'm waiting in line. Nobody gets too much love anymore. It's as high as a mountain and harder to climb. Ooh, you nigga, got a lot of love in store.
Well, welcome back to the Renegade and Rambler Show. I'll just kind of jump back in. I don't see Daniel back. So before the break, I read the legal portion of the Declaration. So Sean, so the representatives at the very end, they say that they voted to absolve from these colonies ought to be free and independent states. Today, we really need to have these 18th century ideas, because that's why we made this our tagline, 18th century ideas for 21st century thinkers, because trying to vote people in or trying to just get that next conservative on the Supreme Court, or all we need is that next conservative president. That's not doing it.
No.
Not fixing it.
No.
So we need to start thinking maybe some of the ideas that these guys had back in the 18th century, they're not really all that bad of an idea. And perhaps it's time for us to write a new legal portion for 2017.
Absolutely. No, you got this pegged. This why I tiptoe into it because I have a normal radio show, but I tiptoe into that because the only form of, and I got to be careful here. The only form of legal independence right now is secession. Jeff, you know that.
That's why. I mean, truth be told, Daniel and I, our pro secession. I have no problem with this thing, this massive blob that is the United States, singular, of America, becoming a lot smaller. And becoming, and all the states, I have no problem seeing the states getting a lot smaller. I had conversations up here in the northern tier of Pennsylvania with people around here saying, you know what, if you got the southern tier of New York, there's about 3 counties right on the southern border of New York, out here in the central part of the state, that are pretty much, I hate the word conservative, but for lack of anything better to call it, they're more conservative than the rest of the state of New York. And you have the northern tier. There's about 3 or 4 counties here on the northern border with New York that are more conservative because, again, nothing else, I can't come up with anything else to describe it at this point. If we banded together, these 6 to 8 or 9 counties right here would be one of the richest sections in the world. We would have an economy that is very, very rich because we're sitting on the Marcellus Shale, and we are sitting on unknown amounts of natural gas. We could easily become a power in the world, being our own little country here. And we don't need a big government in Washington, D.C., or a big government in Albany or Harrisburg to tell us how we run our lives here in these little few counties right here in the northern tier of Pennsylvania.
Oh my God. Yeah, see, you've got this all messed up because you thinking you own yourself is a very difficult thought for most people. They don't get it.
No, they don't. And see, Daniel, I'm not quite sure if the Marcellus vein runs down as far south into Pennsylvania as you are. But I'm sure even if there's got to be something there. There'd be an industry that would make you a viable little country if your section became its own little country. And it's not even, just do mutual trade with each other. I mean, we could be friends. We're geographically similar.
Now, once upon a time, many, many years ago, this little hamlet I live in used to have a steel mill, a flour mill, a trading post, a convenience stores. We used to have it all right here until they built the interstate right through the middle of the town. They did away with almost all of it. So I have no doubt that we couldn't once again build the industry in this area, other than we don't have any real space. But anyway, we could do it, and we could be self-sufficient. We definitely would save a lot of money because we don't have to have a military in Perry County here. Everybody here owns at least a weapon, if not 3 or 4 of them, from what I understand.
I mean, we could have this. We could have that discussion someday too. I mean, I'm not okay. I know the word militia scares everyone, but if these 6, 8 counties up here separated, and your 6, 8, 10 counties down there separated, you could have, if you want to call them the National Guard, I don't care. Whatever you want to call them, the old style militia would work because it would give you defense. Now, our counties could get together with your counties and say, if you're attacked, we'll come down and help you. And your militia can say, well, we'll come up there and help you. We can do this without having big, massive governments.
Mutual defense.
Yeah. Right, Sean? We don't need a big, massive government to run our lives.
Oh, no, I absolutely agree. Free and voluntary trade is what made this thing. We are all, and I know you don't want to hear this word, everything we do is anarchy. Our lives in anarchy, except when we deal with government. It's free and voluntary trade. Everything we do is free and voluntary. And then you get with government, and then force. We're going to use a gun. No, I don't do that. No, I run my life free and voluntary.
But I'll tell you. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'll tell you, Sean. I love what your one forefather did when he was asked to show the papers. That was a really good story.
Exactly. The wagon story. I've been waiting on that for. It took me 15 months to tell the wagon story.
I almost couldn't keep the truck on the road when I heard that story.
I appreciate that.
And folks,
thank you,
listen,
Daniel.
I'm going to break in here because, listen, everyone out there that's listening right now, Sean plays on here. He has a show that he plays on a radio station in Arizona, and we run it as a podcast here. So you can listen to Sean. He's part of this team too. I mean, we're all just trying to get people to think outside of a box. That was our old tagline. And start looking for ideas that aren't new ideas. I mean, they've been around for centuries, but we've forgotten them. And they're the ideas that we're founded on. We're talking about. I read the portion out of the Declaration of Independence that matters. It's the legal portion, the one that said, "We're leaving. See ya. Goodbye."
Exactly. No, you got this shit. Or I'm sorry, you got this stuff. I'm sorry.
Well, we're see, this is internet radio, so we can get away with that. We try not to because we do have family people to listen. But we can get away with that here on the internet radio.
And I don't have a bleep button, so
and we don't have a bleep button, so it's all good, Sean. But we really are. We've forgotten a lot about governing ourselves, and really, what you're talking about. I know another word. There's two words that really scare people. One of them is militia, which again shouldn't scare people. It just means that everyone in your community, we're small. Very small. I was talking about 6, 7, 8 counties being an entire country.
Yeah.
And so we have to have a militia because we'd have to be able to defend ourselves from threats. Now, if Daniel's little, let's see, the Harrisburgistan decided to attack us up here, we'd have to be able to defend ourselves because Harrisburgistan is still full of a lot of liberal elites. He doesn't live near there. He does live near there, but he's not in the Libistan there, or the liberal stand of Harrisburg.
He says,
but anyway, I'm joking. I'm joking. Daniel's, they wouldn't be attacking us, but you understand the whole point. And the second word that scares people is anarchists. Because the first thing you think of is these Antifa ding-dongs that are burning things down, rioting. That's the first thing that people start thinking of when you talk about anarchists.
You want to know what would really scare people, Jeff? The actual definition of the word freedom. Because freedom doesn't allow the government to come bail you out when you fall face first into concrete. That's up to you.
Yeah. There's two big stories out there that I've been kind of posting a little bit here. You have Illinois that about ready to become totally insolvent. And then you have Connecticut that's not far behind them. So you have 2 states now that are just about completely underwater and to the point where they can't even fix themselves. So how free are we going to be when the government says, you're going to give them a bailout, aren't you? And that's what's going to happen.
But see, here's the thing.
Because we're going to have to pay for it.
The interesting thing to see will be how Illinois deals with it. Illinois is pretty much equally divided between conservatives and liberals now because they only have one major city there that really runs the state. Up in Chicago. Connecticut is just full bore liberal from pretty much the entire state. So they're going to try and tax their way out of it until they all flee the state. But Illinois is going to get
our state's not doing too much better. Our state's not doing too much better.
No,
with taxes.
Our state approved,
we're getting right up.
What did they approve? A $32 billion budget, and they only have money for about a $25 billion budget, something like that. I didn't look at the specifics.
They're either going to borrow it or they're going to tax us more. And that really, that really speaks about freedom to me there, Sean. Doesn't it speak freedom to you, talking about spending money you don't have and you're going to tax people into oblivion to get there?
Well, that's where we're at in Arizona. We just, not we, they, the rulers, the crown, just raised property taxes one more time. We just paid more. We're paying more on our water bill one more time. We're paying more on our, they just raised the city sales tax here in Tucson one more time. I mean, and on top of that, I mean, I don't want to be a prick about this, but I'm going to tell you, they put more cops on the streets to enforce these stupid texting and cell phone bills. It's tyranny. We're in tyranny right now. We're here right now in tyranny.
Now there is a small, I stress small, glimmer of light here in Pennsylvania, Jeff. There is a bill that was introduced into the House. It was either the House or the Senate. I think it was the House, that would strip the school districts of their property taxing authority and would return all of that power back to the state. That basically, the way the law is worded, the school districts would no longer be allowed to direct tax the people. Only the state could direct tax the people. So the school district would then have to go to the state for all its money, and the state won't collect property taxes. It's a bunch of malarkey. I don't think it's actually going to pass, but it was introduced. So we at least have 1 or 2 or 5 or 6 legislators that are actually using their head to try and get us out of this mess.
Yeah, but see, the problem is they're only talking about, in Pennsylvania, you get 2 tax bills. You get a school tax, income tax bill, and then you get the county income tax, property tax bill. At least that's how they do it up in our county. I'm not sure. I won't speak to the other counties.
Okay, well, where I'm at, we have a local income tax, and we have local property taxes, normally assessed by the county, and then you have school property taxes. And the school property taxes, of course, because they hire so many more people than the county, are like 3 times the amount of the county property taxes.
And so you got to remember, I don't know, it's your local income tax. It's a school local income tax. Is that not correct? I know that is up in our county.
It says local taxes, but the school attaches a portion to the local income tax. It's like 3 points.
Then you also, at the same time, you get your property tax bills. You get an occupation tax too, right? Which is a property tax. Oh, you guys don't do that. Oh, you don't have to pay for the privilege of having a job.
No. Now where my dad's at, they charge. Well, they did away with the occupational tax down here. What they did was they charge a $1 fee per week, and they call it something else. All they did was change the name of it. It's a flat tax. It's $52 a year.
Oh, but no, I pay $150 some dollars because I have a job. Because I have a job, I get to pay a property tax. Well, it's a tax of some sort.
Fee.
Yeah.
Just to work, because they work.
Pay or die.
All right. Well,
pay or die. I like that. Pay or die.
Folks, this is going to wrap us up. But really, when it comes down to, here's the big part of what we were celebrating this week. These united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states. So that's it from me there, Daniel. Go ahead and take us out.
All right. This is the Renegade and Rambler show, only on the Renegade Rambler Radio Network. And we enjoyed having Sean today. We hope he'll be able to stop by for a later show at his convenience. And until then, we'll have the paradigm shift next Saturday at 8 o'clock. And we'll have another Renegade and Rambler show next Sunday at 8 o'clock. And I'll probably go back to the 1 hour format, but me and Jeff will figure that out next week. And the Wasatch Report should be back with an all-new episode next Monday. She is on vacation this week. So you can like us on our Facebook page. You can like Sean on his Facebook page. He's got one up under Brush Fires of Freedom. And you can listen to us on the app. If you need to find the link to the app, it is on the Facebook page. You just click the button there, and it sends me a nice little message saying somebody clicked the button. So we like to see the clicks go up. And then if you want to donate on my website or our website, because we kind of incorporated them all into one, is Renegade Rambler radio.com, and there's a little donate button. You can feel free to donate if you think what you listen to is worth it. Otherwise, well, we'll still be here because this is our hobby and we like to do it. So on behalf of the employees, all three of us here at Renegade Rambler Radio Network, have a happy 4th of July. Remember, it's Independence Day. Go practice your secession and have a good week, and we'll see you next week.